Alright, hopefully this works this time. I don't know what happened last time with the microphone, man. The first 2 minutes didn't record, and it's a real shame because we had some good talk going on. Some good updates on what was going on, and the introduction to a discussion of Goodbye Dragon Inn. I apologize for that. I'm keeping an eye on whether or not the microphone is being picked up now. Anyways, guys, it's a beautiful day out. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. It's great t-shirt weather. There's a lot to get done. There's a lot to get accomplished, and we should not be distracted by daily nonsense and pointless social interactions with people who have no creative endeavor. This is episode 7 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema, and we have quite a bit to talk about today. But first off, I just want to give a brief uh, uh, redaction from the last episode. I was talking about um, some stuff about the cinemas and the importance of the theatrical experience, and I said a couple things that I didn't quite intend to. Came out not exactly as I had anticipated. Mostly just generalizations of some of the people who were poking fun at Christopher Nolan's intent on a theatrical experience for Tenet. I was saying some things like these people don't like cinema, and that's a very stupid thing to say. I can't make generalizations like that, and sometimes because this is all improvised, I'm not go. I have my notes, and that's about it. But it was not my intention. So if anybody listened to that and thought that I was trying to make these poor generalizations, then I do apologize. I was only trying to say that the people who lambasted Christopher Nolan for his persistence in a theatrical experience, I just questioned how serious they were about the medium, and I still hold that. But to say they didn't like it is just it was not my intention. But with that aside, man, we have some stuff to talk about today. And this book I've been spending a lot of time with this past week or 2 weeks, however long I've been reading it, is this new edition. Well, new comparatively, say. I believe this is from 20, probably 15 or so. I don't know, it doesn't say the date, but it's written by David Kerekes and David Slater. This is Killing for Culture, From Edison to ISIS. And this is the newest edition of this book. The original edition had a pretty memorable cover art of a decapitated head, and this one is a little more academic, a little more subtle. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's very academic, I guess I would say. It's a thick book too, man. I mean, this is what, 600 or so pages. This is about 600 or so pages like that, man. I don't know exactly how much, but either way, man, Killing for Culture. I'm only about 25% of the way through. I can actually tell you what page I'm on now. I'm on page 176. And this book is all about the history of death on film. It, as the title says, goes from Edison all the way up to ISIS, the videos that were being put out on the internet by terrorist group ISIS of beheadings, of tortures, of other violent actions. And it goes from the early days of film, of the elephant electrocution, pretty famous piece of film right there, and kind of is a mostly linear tale. It doesn't exactly go from an ABC. It sort of has A and B kind of mixed, if that makes sense. Like it basically starts out with talking about the film snuff that was originally titled Slaughter, that was bought by distributor whose name I am blanking on right now. Maybe I can find it. but if I can't, then it's okay. I'm not going to spend all day trying to find Alan Shackleton. There we go. Who bought it. Had a filmmaker whose name I am forgetting, which I will not look for, because that is too much time to be spent. Famously filmed a new ending for it. That was supposedly a real murder that was taking place on film. And of course, the slaughter was now snuff, had a whole new marketing campaign about witnessing a death on screen, and all you had to do, man, was sit through 95% of a pretty boring, uninteresting biker hippie film. I have seen Snuff. I own Snuff. Blue Underground put out a Blu-ray a little while ago with a fairly disappointing release. There's some discussion with filmmaker Nicholas Winding Refn, who did such terrific films as the Pusher trilogy, Drive, Fear X. He did a lot of terrific films. He's a very, very excellent filmmaker. One of my favorites. And the Blu-ray is actually not too bad. It's just a little light on features. But it's an important film in terms of the history of death on screen, but it is not a recommended film for entertainment purposes because it is boring. It is quite boring, actually. A film that was made on the coattails of the Manson family tragedy, the horrific murders that ended up changing a lot for the film industry and a lot of how the culture had shifted. And the book talks about that a little bit, along with some imitators, some films that were made pretty soon after, and the rumors of the urban legend that has no basis in any sort of reality that these murders were filmed, which is just absolutely not true. There's been, I mean, that could be a whole book itself, the urban legends around some of the film that was associated with Manson. There was a film that was, I think, thought to be buried on Spawn Ranch or something like that. I don't know, man. But anyways, I'm going off topic. But it goes from that to some of the instances in major films that discussed or showed characters watching death footage. We have films like Paul Schrader's Hardcore, Joe D'Amato's Emmanuel in America, which is a pretty wild film if I do say so. And it is funny, actually. A new Emmanuel just got announced with Léa Seydoux, directed by the director of a film I just saw, Happening, which was a very terrific film. I highly recommend that. Very good. It will make my top end of the year list if I end up making that list. Although it's listed as 2021. But anyways, man, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic here. I didn't wake up all that long ago, so I'm a little, if I go off topic a bit, I do apologize. I'm only given a half hour a week, so I try to make the most of it. But it goes from there to other films like Henry, which has the sequence in the film of the notable and disturbing home invasion sequence that is shot on a video camera. So it goes from films like that to a lot of time on the Mondo films, and the history of Mondo, the Mondo Cane, which is a very infamous stepping stone to, not stepping stone, that's not the word. It's a maybe infamous isn't the right word either, because infamous would imply it's well, I guess it is infamous, you know. But anyways, Mondo Cane and the influence that had on a bunch of other Mondo films, and actually going back to the Manson point before, there was one Mondo film that I don't remember the name of that featured Jay Sebring, who was one of the victims in the tragic Manson family murders, to Bobby Busiulale. I don't remember how to say his last name, who murdered Gary Hinham beforehand, who was involved with Manson. Actually, I think I have a copy of Helter Skelter right over here, man. I think I do. Oh, look at that, man. I do. Wow. That is cool, man. Wow, I never finished this book, man. Wow, I gotta finish this. Why'd I stop reading this, man? This was a good book, man. Maybe I'll restart this. Actually, I got it pretty far in, too. I just rewatched Valley of the Dolls not so long ago. Maybe I won't reread it. I got too much to read. Yeah, either way. Put that off to the side. Anyways, man. It goes from there to like Faces of Death and some of the quote unquote the prevalence of more films of the sucks that were featuring more death footage because Mondo Cane, from what I can remember, doesn't actually feature any real deaths in it, at least human deaths. I know all these Mondo films typically feature like animal, like slaughterhouse footage and stuff, and a lot of implied stuff. Like the opening of Mondo Cane is like a dog being dragged off to a pound, but we don't see anything, which I don't even know if that's true or not, man. I mean, the thing is that the book also really goes into detail of, and is that a lot of the stuff was fake. I mean, it's just like Mondo Cane for a lot of it, for a lot of the stuff that was supposedly like real. You know, they always talk about like, oh, we this society that's never been featured in on film before, and then you find out it's just a bunch of fakery and stuff. I mean, it goes all the way back to, they talk about Nanook of the North, which is a documentary from mostly documentary from the 20s about these Eskimos that were living, and one of the guys died after and stuff, and which, you know, is actually a very good documentary. I've seen that one, and you know, it's one of these things, man, where, and also I apologize, I had to pause briefly to get more coffee, so I'm a little more awake now, but you know, it's one of these things, man, where I think even if the films aren't very good, I think for the most part they are worth seeing. I mean, Mondo Cane is a film I'm not really a fan of. The soundtrack by Riz Ortolani is terrific, though. The main theme was nominated for an Oscar, I believe. Riz Ortolani is just obviously, you know, the man's a genius. Cannibal Holocaust and Don't Torture a Duckling, and I mean, his work is massive, man. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like Nanook of the North, I think, is actually a good movie. Mondo Cane, man, not so much. And a lot of the Mondo spin-offs are just not very interesting. Some of them have gotten Blu-rays in the past couple years, man. We got like Severin put out Mondo Freudo, Echo, Mondo Bellardo, God, I can't remember. God, I own that too. I own that 4-pack. The first one they put out that had Mondo Freudo, Echo, the Forbidden, I think, was in there. Yeah, I think that was the name of it, and the other one I can't remember the name of. Either way, I mean, you know, watching them now, it's interesting. I think it's more interesting just to look at those as just how it looked back then, how the fashions, all the kinds of people that were there. I mean, you know, you these are films where they talk about, oh, we found the secret underground society of Satanists, and then it's like a bunch of guys in like a goddamn janitor's closet, like, oh, we're doing black magic. It's like, what the fuck, man? What the hell are you talking about? That guy's wearing jeans, you know? It's like, you know, you don't watch this as documentaries, man. I'm sure at the time, you know, it's interesting probably at the time because you're seeing, at least for films like Mondo Cane and stuff, and Africa Audio, and you're seeing parts of the world that you really haven't seen before. You watch cinema in part as kind of like a travelogue of these exuberant, exotic places. You look at like the Emmanuelle films, kind of going back to before, and Emmanuelle travels across Europe, and she goes to these exotic locales for these sexual adventures. And I mean, you watch it now, you can go online and you look up anything you want, man. It doesn't quite have, but that's why I think it's important to kind of watch some of these films if you're interested, and not just, I mean, they're not, I mean, you don't watch these films thinking you're going to see a great film. That's why a lot of these have not held up over time. That's why, you know, I mean, I'm up to the point now where it's talking a lot about Faces of Death and the production of that and stuff, and which Faces of Death famously as well is very well known for being mostly fake. I mean, I know there's still some talk about what's real, what isn't, but I think for like the most part, man. I mean, like, you know, I own Faces of Death as well, and I've seen it. And that's another film that is important to see. They made 5 sequels to that, and then some spin-offs. They had like the worst of Faces of Death, and I'm not even talking about all the other shockumentaries they did. That just was all real death footage, but Faces of Death as well. I mean, it's like you have some real stuff. You have like, I think it's Faces of Death that has a woman commit suicide from jumping off a building, and that's real. But then there's a close up of like a mangled body on the ground, and that's fake. So it's stuff like that, and obviously it has the slaughterhouse footage and stuff that you've grown accustomed to and you've seen in all these Mondo movies and shockumentaries and stuff. And so it's a mix of that. It's an interesting piece, but Faces of Death is not a film that you're going to watch again and again because, I mean, for one, there's not really much to go back to once you've seen it. It's like, you know, how many shockumentaries you really watch, even like the big fans, which, you know, I know I have some friends online. Well, I know some people online. Friends is a strong word for that, but I know some people online who are really hardcore into shockumentaries on what are called mixtapes now, which are just like mixtapes of like a lot of death footage and stuff. Stuff like Stars of the YNC and FUBAR and that kind of stuff. And that stuff just doesn't interest me. You know, when I was younger, I was always trying to watch the most extreme, the most disturbing, real murders on camera because, you know, but now I just don't have any interest. A lot of that stuff, I mean, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I think why Faces of Death and Mondo Cane and these films are so important and more interesting is that, I mean, for one, a lot of it was shrouded in mystery. I mean, you watch Faces of Death, and if you watch it thinking it's all 100% real, it'd probably be pretty shocking to you, even though it's so often very obviously not. I mean, even the scene where the cultists are supposedly eating real monkey brains. It's like, oh, that ain't real. It's like, how are there edits in between, man? Who is getting this footage, man? And you gotta wonder who is getting access to all these underground societies and allowing themselves to be put on film on a goddamn 50-foot screen. You know I would. If I was running an underground society, man, I wouldn't even allow any goddamn tape recorders in the place. Let alone, you know, like, hey, can we lug this film equipment? And this ain't no like iPhone, man. These are film, you know, these are film reels, man. You can't. I mean, it'd be pretty difficult to sneak these things in, but either way, man, you know, you know, this book so far, I'm only 25-ish%. I'm on page 176. I can't even stress enough, man. This is one of the best books I've ever read. This is so interesting and fascinating, and I've already written down at least 10 films that I have never heard of, and I'm not gonna act like I know a lot, but I think I know a good amount about a lot of cinema and cult cinema. But there's at least a couple titles in here that I've never heard anyone mention, even friends who are more diehard into specifically horror and cult films than I am. I mean, there's just a couple here, but I mean, you look them up online, they're not very they're pretty unanimously disliked and hated. Not hated, but this is like some films like the Wild Eye, and we talk about some other stuff, and a lot of Mondo films too. The Mondo films I don't have any interest in seeing, but like stuff like they talk about the early white coater films that are just that were films that were like would have excuses to have like hardcore like a birth of a baby or something like that if they have a scientist in a white coat like explaining something to like get past the censors and stuff, and you know, listen, man, I think it's so interesting to see how far this kind of stuff has gone, and I think what am I trying to say? Seeing a film like Faces of Death or something, I find infinitely more interesting than watching like something online. Like there's a quote on the back that says, "I thought I was desensitized. I'm not. There, no hope for humanity. I feel like my quest is over." And it says, "Comment posted online in reaction to the video, 3 guys, 1 hammer." And if you know about those guys, those are 2 teenagers, I think, or something like that. They were serial killers, man. They were going around just, I mean, you read some of the stuff they were doing. I can't even put into words, man. It's unbelievably just evil doesn't even begin to cut it. Anyways, this video they posted online of them brutally killing this homeless man with a hammer, and it's a pretty notorious video, and I've never seen it. I have no interest in seeing it whatsoever. It will do nothing but upset me, and I'm not trying to be upset. I want to feel emotion, but not from that. You know, I just don't see any. If this was 15 years ago, I don't even know when it came out, maybe 2007 or something. I have no idea. If this was 15 years ago, or if I was like in high school, and I was more aware, I definitely would have looked it up. I would have looked up, oh man, that's the craziest thing ever. But now I'm at a point now. I just know it's gonna upset me. I know I'm not gonna like what I see, so why bother? You know, it's like it's a thing where it's tricky because I find great value in shockumentary films, the ones like Traces of Death, Faces of Gore, Faces of War, these kind of things, because the way I see it, man, a lot of these are, well, for one, they're curated. I mean, they're more curated than a lot of the mixtapes that go around where it's people who just go online to like whatever website and just put them together like that. These feel more underground, I guess, in a way, because they actually had to distribute these themselves, and they didn't just go online and just say, hey, I'm gonna make copies of this. Who wants one? You know, if that makes sense. I guess it's more time consuming to put it on a VHS than it is a disc. If I'm saying that the way I intend to. But the reason I say those is that I watch those, man. I don't really buy them that much. I have that Traces of Death 5 DVD set. It's just because that was what I was looking for a while. And I watch it, man, and it really kind of makes me reflect on my own life and how quick it can be over and how much you really have to savor it, man. I mean, you watch a lot of these and it's just in the span of 30 seconds, man. Someone's alive and someone's gone, and that's it. And sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not, and it really kind of makes me reflect on a lot of the things and makes me go, you know what, man, anything can happen. The world's a scary place, but you shouldn't be scared to go in it, man. You really got to use this time wisely and really kind of utilize what you can in this life. I mean, what's the meaning of life? To be happy, man. That's why you got to be happy doing what you want. If that means working on your next masterpiece of a novel, writing the next best thing, working on it nonstop, and that makes you happy, man, you do it. If you want to sit around and watch TV and watch, I don't know, reality TV or whatever, that makes you happy, man, then you've already won. You've already won in life, man. And you've already won over the guy writing the novel, and the guy has already won over you. And that's why I find these a little more valuable. And like I said, I don't keep up with, I don't buy the mixtapes. I don't even really watch them at all. They just don't interest me. But from a purely psychological perspective, I think that's where I kind of gain the interest from, is that. But after a certain point, you see so many videos and so much footage. I mean, we've all seen, anyone with the internet has seen, or if shit, anyone with news TV has seen horrific things that they can probably name off. You ask somebody, hey, what's a disturbing murder that you saw that you wish you never saw? They'll probably tell it to you in pretty good detail, because a lot of that stuff you can't scrub from your mind. And but my point is that this book is so invaluable, man. I mean, there's information here that I've not heard anywhere else, and so many films brought up, and I just cannot recommend this enough. This is one of the best things I've ever read, and I'm only 25% through. Like I said, this is a thick book, man. I mean, it doesn't really do it justice, but man, this is a two-hander for sure. This, I had to buy this. I bought this on Barnes & Noble's site, man. For some reason, the first press of this with the original cover, it's pretty expensive. It's like $50-$60, and or even more than that. Like an outdated version. This one's only $40. I got it from Barnes & Noble, and I think this is a European book. That's why, because it took a little while to show up. It took about a month or so. Actually, I had time to read 2 books in the time that this one showed up, but it should still be available, man. I mean, this one is just a very, very good book, and I can't put it down, man. It already has a good amount of wear on it from bringing this around, and when I go to the cinema and I get there early, I'll sit in the cinema and I'll read and do the such, make sure no time is wasted. But speaking of time not being wasted, man, this has been a very productive week. A lot of writing has got done. Last week was a little rough, man. I gotta say, it was. I didn't get quite as much writing done. I hit a bit of a slump in terms of story, so I started putting my mind elsewhere, working on something else, and from there I ended up kind of propelling this new material that I've been working on. And I think it's coming along very nicely. A lot of the dialogue I've been reading back, and it's as smooth as butter, man. I think it's real cool stuff, and I've been really into that lately. And working on editing some projects. So I mean, you gotta keep at it, man. You can't watch. If you want to be a rock star, you can't listen to Jimmy Page or Bruce Springsteen and go, oh man, I want to do that, but then you won't even pick up a guitar for. And I understand people have different lives, people's schedules are busy, man. But Your life's not your work, man. It's or work's not your life, man. I mean, we all have duties, we all have responsibilities, we all got to pay the bills. We can't all pay it with art, man. I sure would love to, but hey, man, it's all about finding that mutual ground between commerce and commercial, if that makes sense. I know it's more specifically for if you're actually making a living for art, but you know what, man, I work a 9 to 5 job, man. I got to do it, but you know what I do on my breaks? I don't look at social media. I don't even like social media. I don't really even have social media. I have an Instagram. I love Instagram, but on my breaks, always reading, man. No time wasted. I'm responding to messages from people who needed to get my attention, and then I'm right to reading, man. And that's how you get through so much material. And on the weekends, man, you have to really kind of keep at it and keep at your art, because these days of just, oh, what are you doing this weekend, man? Oh, I don't know. Like maybe let's hang out and stare at the wall. Like, man, that ain't gonna get you anywhere. Then Monday morning is gonna come, and you're gonna go, oh, I did not. What a boring weekend. We're gonna buy so fast. Anytime anyone asks me, what do you do this weekend? You know what I tell them? I tell them I'm working. I'm working and I'm watching, man. Because that's what it's for. It's the only things I care about in this world. That's my art and cinema, man. But gotta cut out all the social nonsense. And if people don't like it, man, well, there's plenty of other people to be with, man. Well, anyways, I won't get into that conversation, but I listened to a very informative interview over the weekend. I'm sorry, not over the weekend, over the past week, that kind of puts into perspective on things about relationships and how meaningless a lot of them are, with friendships and romantically. And that's why you gotta kind of just focus on you, man. You can't get stuff done if you're hanging around doing nothing, It's too easy, man. But anyways, I only got a couple minutes left. I was going to talk about 2 films that I unfortunately did not get to. I guess I'll be very, very brief, man. I'll talk about one of them because it's a new release. Here we go. I'm going to try to pronounce this director's name. I'm going to actually try to look it up here and see if I can pronounce his name, but I don't think I'll be able to. It's Jesus Christ. Alright, I'm not even going to try. The man who directed Uncle Boon Me directed his new film Memoria with Tilda Swinton. This is a film that has gotten a lot of talk for its release, which is, they said was only theatrically, will never be on VOD, or will never be released on home media, which is kind of funny, because yesterday morning I looked and saw that the UK Blu-ray has already been announced, so if you're not able to see this in the cinema, man, don't you worry. But I do respect him wanting to get a theatrical experience out of this. This is a terrific film, man. But I cannot stress, this is a film that you have to watch with no distractions. This is about 2.5 hours, and it takes its time in the most hypnotic and fascinating way. Basically, the film is a little tricky on plot in terms of how to explain it. So we have this main character, Tilda Swinton, and she is coming to visit her sick sister, who lives in Colombia. And Tilda Swinton starts to hear this noise, this singular boom noise, with a loud bass behind it. And she starts to try to wonder what it is. Only she can hear it. And from there, we start to slightly unravel it and learn more about the possible psychology of what is going on here. And this was such a me film. This really takes its time. There's what would normally be kind of banal sequences are instead enhanced by the characters and the unraveling of what exactly is happening. There's a great sequence where Tilda Swinton goes to see a sound engineer and starts to try to manufacture the sound, and we as an audience start getting piece by piece more and more, and it's incredibly hypnotic. And there's a great sequence that it takes up at least a half hour, maybe even more, where Tilda Swinton meets another character in the forest, and it's the closest to an explanation that we get, while not being flat out told. It's one that I thought about a lot after, in terms of the final act of the film and what a lot of it means. And this is one that I am actually really looking forward to watching again. I knew I wasn't going to get an opportunity to go see this again theatrically, because there are other theatrical films that I have to see. I actually went last night to see the new Alex Garland film, Men, which was a excellent film. I definitely recommend that. I if I had more time, maybe I would talk about that. But Memoria is one that I thought was absolutely terrific and one of the best films I've seen this year. So I don't have a lot of time left. I got about 15 seconds. So thank you all for listening to another episode. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you will all tune in next time. Thank you so much. Goodbye.